What happens when the one thing Europeans mocked becomes the thing they miss most? Back home, the supermarkets felt strangely bare. The streets looked quieter, and even national pride seemed packed away. Was America really too much? Or had Europe simply forgotten how powerful it feels when a country is unafraid to celebrate itself? They returned expecting relief, but one missing symbol exposed a far bigger emptiness. America wears its flag. The first surprise was not waiting inside a stadium, beneath a skyline, or beside some famous monument polished for television. It was hanging above supermarket doors, printed across seasonal displays, wrapped around coolers, napkins, paper plates, barbecue supplies, cereal boxes, and almost anything large enough to hold 3 colors. After months of hearing that America had become divided, uncertain, and embarrassed by its own identity, the World Cup revealed a country doing something remarkably unfashionable by European standards, displaying its national flag without whispering an apology.
What I love about America so much is how patriotic you are. There's flags everywhere. I love it. I've got a flag over here. I want to see the American flag everywhere I go when I step foot in America.
Straight from Costco, here's a find you'll love this Memorial Day. The Valley Forge 6-foot American flag kit. It's made in the USA, beautifully crafted, and under $35.
A regular grocery store suddenly looks prepared for both a family cookout and the opening ceremony of the Olympics. Red, white, and blue stretch across the aisles until the supermarket resembles Uncle Sam's pantry, complete with enough patriotic tableware to host a block party visible from low orbit. The effect is playful, commercial, slightly excessive, and unmistakably American, which is precisely why it becomes so memorable.
Do y'all need 24 American flags in here? You guys have infinite soda options. Like, what's a Mountain Dew? What's a Baja Blitz?
Where's all the people sitting outside and eating here?
Oh yeah, they don't really do that over here.
They don't do that? This sucks. This is a serving size?
Yeah.
How am I gonna eat on this? $12 for a bottle of wine?
I know.
What?
Ridiculous.
Across Europe, national flags often follow a stricter social calendar. In Germany, they become much more visible during major football tournaments, especially around public viewing areas, balconies, and fan merchandise. In France, the tricolor carries powerful civic meaning and dominates official occasions, yet it does not usually take over an ordinary hypermarket simply because grilling season has arrived. Britain places the Union Jack on souvenirs, royal celebrations, and selected product packaging, but a routine supermarket trip in Manchester or Birmingham rarely feels like the nation itself has decorated the snack aisle. America treats the flag differently because patriotism is allowed to enter ordinary life. It does not remain locked behind government buildings, military ceremonies, or one carefully approved national holiday. It travels into hardware stores, gas stations, front porches, shopping centers, roadside diners, and grocery aisles filled with mustard bottles large enough to require their own seatbelt. The symbol becomes less formal, yet somehow more present, because it belongs to daily routines rather than appearing only when protocol demands it. That cultural confidence challenged the gloomy portrait often exported by international media. The America seen during the 2026 World Cup was not hiding from itself. Its colors were visible across stadium districts, commercial spaces, highways, storefronts, and shelves, turning a global tournament into something that still felt firmly rooted in the host country. The message was never complicated. Visitors were welcome, the world could arrive, and America would still look unmistakably like America. After living inside that visual energy, returning to quieter retail spaces could make European supermarkets seem surprisingly neutral. The shelves remained organized, the products remained familiar, and the bread section continued performing at a level America should probably study carefully. Yet the atmosphere lacked the cheerful confidence of a place willing to put its national colors beside charcoal, soda, and hamburger buns. Perhaps that is why the flags became so easy to miss. They were never merely decorations. They made ordinary places feel connected to something larger, while proving that national pride could be bold, useful, humorous, and woven into everyday life without becoming a solemn lecture. America did not reserve patriotism for monuments. It placed it beside the barbecue sauce where everyone could actually see it. Choice has no ceiling. The real danger of an American supermarket is not that it sells too much. It is that, after a few weeks, abundance begins to feel normal, and everything back home starts looking as though half the shelves were removed during the night. That is when the comparison becomes uncomfortable, because Europe still has excellent food, beautiful markets, and products with centuries of tradition behind them. Yet when it comes to sheer retail choice, America enters the room like Costco, pushing a cart with one squeaky wheel and absolutely no intention of being subtle.
We're in an American supermarket right now, and some of these options are crazy.
Oh, look at the size of those bananas. Whoa, they're huge.
Look at these meals. The chicken bacon straight into the oven. That looks amazing. Hot food section. Mac and cheese. I think that can stay right there though. What in the name of steroids have these tomatoes had? That's massive.
My pronouns are USA.
My pronouns are USA.
A typical Walmart supercenter covers around 178,000 square feet, which is roughly the size of 3 American football fields placed side by side. Many locations carry well over 100,000 products, meaning a grocery trip can move from milk and bread to televisions, motor oil, patio furniture, birthday decorations, fishing equipment, and a 12-pack of something nobody planned to buy, but somehow now considers essential. The building does not merely offer options, it keeps producing them until the original shopping list feels like a polite suggestion. That scale creates a very specific kind of freedom. In Paris, London, Amsterdam, or central Rome, retail space is expensive, streets are tighter, storage is limited, and many supermarkets are designed around frequent smaller trips. A neighborhood Carrefour City or Tesco Express can be wonderfully efficient, but efficiency always involves editing. Shelf space must make decisions on behalf of the shopper, which means fewer package sizes, fewer flavors, and fewer brands competing for attention. America takes the opposite approach and lets the aisle become the argument. A European cereal section may offer a sensible collection of familiar choices. An American cereal aisle can look like Saturday morning television became a real estate developer. Chocolate, cinnamon, marshmallow, peanut butter, high protein, low sugar, family size, giant size, limited edition, retro edition, and boxes designed with enough color to guide aircraft through fog all compete within the same stretch of shelving. The same pattern appears in sauces, frozen meals, snacks, coffee creamers, and soft drinks, where a single category may contain more variations than some European stores have total checkout lanes.
I've never seen a grocery store quite like this before. Look, you can buy anything you want in bulk. There's their candy aisle, one of their candy aisles. Nerds gummy clusters, buttered popcorn jelly beans, even random stuff like protein pancake mix, corn muffin, brownie mix, Oreos, animal cookies. You just scoop it. Everything you just scoop and take as much as you need. This is their entire bulk section. That's like the most American grocery store.
This is where the attraction becomes deeper than shopping. Choice creates the feeling that daily life can be customized. Dinner does not have to follow one standard format. A household product does not have to come in one practical size, and personal preference is not treated like an inconvenience that must fit whatever remains on the shelf. The American store behaves as though every possible appetite, schedule, budget, storage space, and oddly specific craving deserves its own product code. Critics may call that excessive, and occasionally they are correct. Nobody truly needs 18 versions of ranch dressing unless the dressing is preparing to run for Congress. Still, excess has a hidden advantage: it removes friction. Bulk packages reduce repeat trips, large containers suit bigger households, specialty products are easier to find, and competing brands create visible price choices rather than leaving one lonely bottle to govern the aisle like a small unelected official. That is why returning to a compact European supermarket can feel surprisingly restrictive after the United States. The store may be elegant, organized, and stocked with better bread than many American chains could produce under oath, but the range suddenly feels predetermined. The shelves seem to say, here are the acceptable options, while America asks, how specific would you like to get? International media often presents American consumer culture as mindless excess, yet the shelves reveal something more practical. The abundance exists because the country has the physical space, distribution network, cold storage, road system, and purchasing scale to support it. What looks extravagant from the outside often functions as convenience from within. Europe offers refinement. America offers range so wide that even indecision gets its own family-sized package. Once that level of choice becomes part of ordinary life, going back can make an entire supermarket feel like the sample version. America never feels small. Some countries are beautiful because everything feels close together. America is addictive for the opposite reason. The horizon keeps moving away, the road keeps unfolding, and the map seems to have forgotten where to stop. After getting used to that scale, returning to Europe can make even a major journey feel strangely compressed, as though the continent has been folded neatly into the glove compartment. The United States has roughly 48,000 miles of interstate highway, linking states, cities, ports, suburbs, mountain regions, deserts, and entire stretches of land that would swallow several European countries without needing to loosen the belt. That number matters because the interstate system does more than connect destinations. It gives the country a sense of continuous access. A place can be hundreds of miles away and still feel reachable because the road has already been prepared, numbered, widened, signed, serviced, and introduced to at least 3 truck stops selling coffee in cups large enough to irrigate a lawn. Europe has excellent roads, but the experience changes quickly from one country to another. Germany's Autobahn network is famous for its engineering and stretches for more than 8,000 miles, yet it serves a country smaller than Montana. Britain has only a little over 2,000 miles of motorway, and driving between cities such as London, Birmingham, and Manchester often means sharing limited corridors with dense traffic and older urban layouts. Around Paris, Rome, or Brussels, a journey can begin on a modern highway and end in a street system designed when the fastest vehicle required hay. America built much of its modern landscape around movement, and that decision changes everyday life. Large shopping centers, stadiums, suburbs, distribution hubs, roadside restaurants, national parks, and enormous fuel stations all make sense because the road network gives them room to exist. The highway is not merely a strip of asphalt between two places. It is the spine holding the scale of the country upright. That is also why American travel feels unusually cinematic. A drive through Arizona can move from city lights to open desert without the scenery asking permission. Texas can turn a simple trip into a distance normally associated with international travel. California can offer coastline, farmland, mountains, and desert in a single state, while the road calmly keeps going like it has another appointment after sunset. The landscape does not arrive in small samples, it serves the full plate. European geography often feels layered, historic, and beautifully dense. Cross a border, and architecture, language, road signs, and food can change within a few hours. America offers a different kind of thrill, continuity on a scale that makes motion itself feel like freedom. The country does not constantly remind the road that space is expensive. It simply adds another lane and lets the horizon handle the rest. That may be why the return home can feel surprisingly limited. Distances become shorter, roads become narrower, parking becomes strategic, and every trip seems to encounter a town center that was never consulted about modern traffic. Nothing is wrong with that compactness, but after America, it can feel as though the world has been placed on battery-saving mode. The United States makes distance feel usable. It turns emptiness into access, scale into possibility, and a long drive into proof that the country still has room left over. Europe may fit more history into each mile, but America makes each mile feel like it belongs to the future. Homes with breathing room. Try bringing an American refrigerator into a typical apartment in central Paris, and the kitchen may need to file a formal complaint. The appliance is wider, the doorway is narrower, and suddenly the difference between two continents can be measured with a tape measure. This is where America's advantage becomes impossible to hide, because living space in the United States is not treated like a luxury reserved for castles, penthouses, or lottery winners. It is built into the ordinary idea of home. According to the US Census Bureau, the median size of a newly completed single-family house in 2023 was roughly 2,786 square feet, or about 212 square meters. That amount of space can hold multiple bedrooms, several bathrooms, a laundry room, storage areas, a garage, and still leave enough room for a kitchen island large enough to qualify for its own zip code. In many American suburbs, the house does not squeeze itself around daily life. Daily life spreads out and gets comfortable. Now place that beside Europe's major cities. New homes in England are commonly much smaller, while apartments in Paris, Barcelona, Amsterdam, and Rome must work within expensive land. Historic street plans and buildings created long before walk-in closets became a serious architectural ambition. A 50 square meter apartment in Paris can be charming, beautifully located, and arranged with impressive skill, but every object must justify its existence. A dining table may also serve as a desk, storage unit, folding station, and emergency diplomatic zone whenever two chairs need to pass each other. America removes much of that negotiation. The attraction is deeper than having an extra bedroom. More space changes the rhythm of ordinary life because storage stops becoming a daily puzzle. Groceries can be purchased in larger packages, seasonal decorations can remain somewhere other than under the bed, and a washing machine does not need to live in the kitchen like a roommate who refuses to contribute rent. Garages hold vehicles, tools, sports equipment, freezers, and enough mystery boxes to keep future generations mildly concerned. European housing is shaped by density, older construction, and cities designed for shorter distances. Those conditions create beauty and efficiency, but they also demand constant compromise. Closets become narrow, bathrooms become strategic, and kitchens sometimes require the coordination of an air traffic controller. America's lower population density and vast suburban development made a different promise possible. A home could provide privacy, storage, comfort, and room for future needs without requiring every square inch to perform 3 separate jobs. International media often mocks American houses as oversized, wasteful, or excessive, usually while filming them through a wide-angle lens that quietly proves the point. Yet the appeal becomes obvious once that space is lived in rather than judged from outside. A larger home makes ordinary routines easier, allows possessions to remain organized, and gives each part of the house a clear purpose. The dining room can remain a dining room, which already feels like a small miracle in many expensive European capitals. That is why returning home can make familiar apartments feel unexpectedly tight. Nothing has physically changed, but the walls seem to have moved inward, the closets appear to be holding a grudge, and the kitchen suddenly looks as though it was designed by someone who considered elbows an optional feature. Europe perfected the art of making small spaces beautiful. America did something bolder. It made breathing room part of everyday life. Once a home has offered that much freedom, compact living no longer feels clever. It feels like the furniture has won. Nature went supersized. Europe has mountains, forests, lakes, coastlines, and postcard villages arranged with almost suspicious precision. Then America opens the gate to one national park, and the comparison suddenly needs a much larger map. The real surprise is not that American nature looks beautiful, because Europe can compete with beauty all day. The surprise is that the United States preserves wilderness on a scale that makes entire European countries look like neatly labeled garden sections. Wrangell's St. Elias National Park and Preserve in Alaska covers roughly 2 million acres, or more than 53,000 square kilometers. That single protected area is larger than Switzerland, the Netherlands, Denmark, or Slovakia. Let that settle for a moment. One American national park can outsize a sovereign European nation while still leaving enough room for glaciers, volcanoes, mountain ranges, rivers, and valleys that have never heard of a parking meter. That enormous scale changes the meaning of escape. In the Alps, spectacular scenery is often closely connected to villages, ski resorts, railways, tunnels, and carefully managed routes. Switzerland can place a train beside a mountain with the confidence of someone setting a coffee cup on a table. America takes a different approach. It allows the landscape to remain so large that infrastructure seems temporary, almost as though the road was invited in for the weekend and told not to move anything. The United States has 63 officially designated national parks, spread across deserts, tropical wetlands, volcanic islands, mountain systems, forests, canyons, and coastlines. Yellowstone alone covers nearly 3,500 square miles, making it larger than Luxembourg and close to the size of Cyprus. Death Valley stretches across about 3.4 million acres, while Grand Canyon National Park protects more than 2 million acres around a geological formation that appears to have been designed by a committee refusing to approve anything modest. This is where the attraction becomes difficult to reverse. American wilderness does not merely offer a scenic viewpoint, a bench, and a polite sign explaining what lies ahead. It creates the feeling that the continent still has unfinished space, where the horizon is not boxed in by suburbs, rail lines, or another town appearing every 20 minutes. The landscape remains large enough to make silence feel physical. European nature is often more compact and easier to combine with urban travel. The Dolomites can be reached from Venice, the Swiss Alps connect smoothly with Zurich and Geneva, while the Lake District sits within a country crossed by dense roads and railways. That accessibility is impressive, yet it produces a different emotional effect. Europe presents nature like a masterpiece inside a beautiful frame. America occasionally forgets the frame and gives away the entire wall. International coverage often reduces the United States to cities, highways, shopping centers, and political noise, leaving the impression that its natural identity has been buried beneath concrete. The national parks expose how incomplete that picture is. America has protected vast areas where scale remains the main attraction, and where the land seems perfectly capable of continuing without civilization's constant supervision. Returning to Europe after seeing that kind of wilderness can make familiar landscapes feel unusually contained. Mountains remain impressive, lakes still shine, and forests retain their beauty, but the edges arrive sooner. A road appears, a village enters the view, or a border reminds the map to behave itself. America offers something rarer than scenery, the sensation that the world is still enormous. Once that feeling settles in, smaller landscapes can seem like nature has been asked to use the indoor voice. America chilled everything Europe can preserve a cathedral for 8 centuries, run a railway through the Alps, and fit an entire apartment into a space an American garage would call the corner. Yet when summer arrives, one ordinary American invention suddenly becomes more impressive than all the stone facades in Paris. Reliable air conditioning almost everywhere. That difference sounds small until a hot afternoon turns it into the main event. In the United States, cooling is not treated as a special feature reserved for luxury hotels or newly built offices. It is expected inside supermarkets, restaurants, shopping malls, homes, airports, cinemas, pharmacies, gyms, and even convenience stores that sell 3 kinds of beef jerky at 2 in the morning. The outdoor temperature may be attempting a hostile takeover, but the automatic doors open and America immediately sends in refrigerated reinforcements, according to the US. Energy Information Administration, nearly 9 out of 10 American households use air conditioning. Across Europe, estimates have generally placed household adoption below 20%, although southern countries such as Italy, Spain, and Greece have higher rates than northern Europe. That gap explains why a summer trip through Dallas, Atlanta, Miami, or Phoenix can feel surprisingly manageable despite temperatures that regularly climb above 90 degrees Fahrenheit. The heat remains outside while indoor life continues under conditions closer to a well-organized produce aisle. Compare that with Paris during a heat wave where many older apartments depend on shutters, fans, thick walls, and the sincere hope that sunset remembers its responsibilities. London has traditionally had even lower residential air conditioning use because its climate rarely demanded it in the past, although warmer summers have begun exposing the weakness of that assumption. Berlin, Amsterdam, and Brussels face similar problems because much of their housing and public infrastructure was designed when extreme heat was considered an occasional visitor rather than a seasonal tenant. America made a different decision decades ago. Cooling became part of the building itself, not an emergency appliance dragged from storage when the weather became unreasonable. That choice reshaped the country more deeply than it first appears. Large indoor shopping centers could operate comfortably in hot states, office towers could remain productive through summer, and supermarkets could maintain stable temperatures across enormous refrigerated sections without turning every shopping trip into a test of endurance. The addictive part is not simply feeling cold. It is the certainty that comfort will continue from one location to the next. A car cools quickly, the grocery store is cooler still, and the hotel room usually includes a thermostat waiting beside the wall like a tiny democratic institution. Temperature becomes adjustable rather than unavoidable, which may explain why American thermostats inspire household negotiations intense enough to qualify for congressional coverage. European media occasionally presents American air conditioning as excessive, energy-hungry, or even slightly ridiculous. Those concerns are not imaginary, especially when inefficient systems waste electricity. Yet the practical achievement deserves more credit than it receives. America built cooling into ordinary infrastructure on a national scale, creating indoor environments that remain usable during increasingly severe summers. Returning to Europe after that consistency can make familiar buildings feel strangely unfinished. The architecture may be older, prettier, and full of character, but character offers limited assistance when the bedroom remains warm after midnight. A small fan begins rotating with the confidence of a device that has not read the weather report, while the window introduces mosquitoes and street noise as complementary upgrades. America understood something wonderfully direct. Comfort should not disappear when the temperature rises. Europe learned to endure summer beautifully. The United States installed a thermostat and got back to business. Stadiums ate Europe. A strange thing happens when America hosts a global tournament. The stadium does not merely hold the event because it begins competing with the event for attention. The roof stretches across the skyline, the video board looks large enough to require air traffic clearance, and the parking complex seems prepared for a small migration. By comparison, many famous European grounds suddenly feel intimate, historic, and almost suspiciously polite. This difference is not simply about adding more seats. It reveals how America treats major entertainment as infrastructure rather than decoration. AT&T Stadium in Texas can accommodate around 80,000 spectators for football and expand beyond 100,000 for selected events. MetLife Stadium in New Jersey holds more than 82,000, while SoFi Stadium in California seats roughly 70,000 and can be configured for considerably larger crowds. These are not oversized bowls with a scoreboard attached afterward. They are purpose-built machines designed to move sound, light, food, traffic, broadcasting, security, and spectacle through one enormous system. Europe owns some legendary stadiums, but many are shaped by older cities and tighter surroundings. Stamford Bridge in London holds a little over 40,000 spectators. Paris Saint-Germain's Parc des Princes seats fewer than 50,000, despite serving one of Europe's largest capitals. Even iconic venues such as Anfield and the Santiago Bernabeu must fit into dense urban environments where every expansion becomes an argument involving streets, housing, transport, history, and several committees that probably require another committee. America often begins with a different question. How large can the experience become before the building needs its own weather forecast? That ambition changes everything visible on screen. Giant concourses prevent the structure from feeling like a concrete puzzle. Enormous concession areas turn halftime into a food festival. Retractable roofs reduce weather uncertainty, and high-definition displays make the action readable from seats located somewhere near the local time zone boundary. The scale is not accidental extravagance. It is a national habit of designing for the biggest possible day rather than the average afternoon. This is precisely why the World Cup environment in the United States feels so powerful. A global event arrives and discovers that the country already possesses arenas capable of handling Super Bowls, college football finals, concerts, motorsports, and crowds large enough to populate a respectable European town. America does not need to invent spectacle for the tournament because spectacle has been paying property tax there for decades. European football culture often values closeness, tradition, narrow stands, and grounds woven into neighborhoods. That intimacy creates wonderful atmosphere, yet it also places a ceiling on expansion. American stadium culture removes the ceiling, sometimes literally, then adds climate control and a screen visible from another zippy code. International coverage frequently presents American sports venues as excessive monuments to money. However, that criticism misses their practical brilliance. These buildings are flexible, technologically advanced, commercially efficient, and capable of hosting multiple industries under one roof. What looks like overkill during an ordinary game becomes foresight when the entire world arrives. After experiencing that scale, returning to a smaller European venue can feel like watching a blockbuster on a laptop. The history remains powerful and the architecture still matters, but the sense of unlimited possibility has disappeared. America understands that a stadium can be more than seating around grass. It can become a city for one night, a broadcast studio, a national stage, and a machine built to make memory feel enormous. Europe was never empty, but America revealed how much bigger everyday life could feel. From vast homes and endless highways to national parks, cooled buildings, giant stores, and stadiums built for history, the difference was impossible to forget. Returning home did not erase the memories, it made the comparison sharper. Perhaps the real question is not what America has, but why the rest of the world settles for less every day. Subscribe, and keep discovering the America rarely shown abroad.